When you're born into a fire, let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the world's mistake. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To play, haters face the
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Making an Impact. I am the foe, Cody Defoe, joined by my lovely accomplice every Thursday night, the
I
natural
did it.
Astro.
I did it. Okay.
We both
I'm
got it.
good.
Can we like ET finger touch here?
I guess that feels weird. Yeah,
Off to a
I did
wonderful
it though.
start again, as always. How are you this wonderful Thursday, Astrid?
I'm a little nervous, a little stressed out, but I'm doing all right. It was a good impact episode, so that helped me take my mind off of everything. How are you?
It was a strong show. It's been a pretty busy week, an exhausting week, but excited to get down to business here tonight and talk some wrestling.
Yes. Hi, Bobby. Thank you for stopping by. I I had your show on the background while I was watching Impact, but I was there though.
Yeah, how's it going tonight, Bobby? Things are good over here. Anyone else joining us in the chat, whether you're here with us live or you're joining us on the replay Mondays on Backbreaker Video. Always happy to see comments, join the conversation, let us know what you thought of this week's impact, and we'll be happy to comment back. So let's dive into it. I believe you watched BTI as well, right, Astrid?
Yeah.
So we got a pretty fun match for our Before the Impact match this week. Um, Before I jump
Hi,
into that,
Daphne.
welcome to the show, Fort Minor. Nice to see you. Before the Impact, though, Yuya Uemura versus Andrew Everett in kind of a smaller dark match happening. Definitely a fun one still. Pretty basic match, but still solid output from both men. Uemura gets the win coming out of the loss in the tournament there. Some nice spots, some nice work being put in by both these guys. I didn't really see anything that really stood out as poor spots. Everett hit some really nice looking moonsaults, a lion salt, and a top rope, like where he splayed himself out on the mat. We got Uemura finishing with a clothesline from hell and a top rope crossbody, which I know I made the comment last week about Ray Walt continually mentioning him as kind of the future ace.
Mm-hmm.
This crossbody, after he was again called the future ace a few different times throughout this match, really reminded me of an ace's high that Tanahashi likes to hit as a lead into his high fly flow. So I think I'm kind of catching on to the idea of the aces here. I think they're really trying to build him up as somebody, if and when he makes his way back to New Japan, to be a Tanahashi type character.
Yeah, it just reminded me that they said that during commentary a few times, so it reminded me of your comment last week too. Yeah, I like the pacing of the match. It was like very hard hitting and very high flying type of style matches I enjoyed. I think the only part that bothered me though, at one moment, I forgot what both Yuya was doing on Everett, but he like turned around towards the barricade and then he turned back around, like trying to sell the move. But the way he turned back around and then he just started waiting for Yuya to just drop on him, like the cell itself and the way he did and the timing of it, it was kind of awkward for me to watch it. But other than that, I was hoping Yuya will win it though, just because I feel like even with the loss, he still has a lot of momentum on his side, and I didn't want him to really lose that. So when I saw that he won, I was really happy, and just keep that shine that he has on him at the moment as the way they're building him up on Impact.
Yeah, this is the first time we've seen Andrew Everett since his kind of surprise appearance in the Ultimate X match as the replacement for Jack Evans. So it would have been a surprise, I think, for him to come back and immediately get the win over somebody who's kind of been around a little bit longer on the Impact, or more consistently at least on the Impact programming, in an Andrew Everett. Or in a Yuya Uemura, sorry. So it definitely felt like a place where Uemura gets that win back, gets a little bit more of his momentum back on his side, and can go forward as a consistent part of the X Division roster on his piece in the Excursion here.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
That was it for BTI for matches. Other than that, just your typical BTI recap of everything that's happened last week and the stories going into Overdrive tomorrow night. We are going to touch on Overdrive throughout the show here. We're going to, as we go through the rundown of tonight's Impact, going to break down the matches as they happen, and then anything that is a story being built into the Overdrive show tomorrow, we'll kind of take a spot at each of those places in the show and give our picks and predictions on what we think is going to happen in those matches. So, jumping into the main show, we open as is the norm with the X Division on Impact. We get the Black Taurus versus PJ Black match, Black versus Black, if you will. Crazy Steve again out in the ring for what has become the norm, I think, for Black Taurus at this point, getting that kind of chilling decay intro from Crazy Steve. Interesting note I took right off the bat, though, when they had the tail of the tape up. I hadn't really paid enough attention to Taurus to recognize the fact that he's apparently won 5 of his last 7 matches in Impact now. And then they also made a comment about the fact that PJ Black, prior to this X Division tournament, had only ever competed in Impact Wrestling in title matches. And I mean, technically, this is still a tournament for a title. So PJ Black apparently only comes to Impact when there's gold on the line.
Smart man. Smart man.
He comes, he wrestles for gold, and then he leaves.
Why not?
The match itself was actually pretty slow for an X Division match. This, I think, was my least favorite match of the entire tournament so far. I feel like there were a lot of missteps. There was a lot of timing issues. There were a lot of things that I kind of picked out. After kind of the clean, solid match that we got from Uemura and Everett, this one kind of stood out a little bit in the wrong direction as a step back from that. I definitely applauded Taurus and PJ Black for their performances in the first round. This one didn't hit for me. What did you think?
Yeah, interesting. I didn't think about the facing on this one like I did with Everett and Yuya. But yeah, I see what you mean, though. I feel like slower in that type of pace, like nothing really picked up because of it. But I like how they went against each other. It was very hard hitting between them, though, and just like those sort of spots. And I'm like, okay, that's good to see. But I like the part when towards the I forgot what he did to Black Taurus, but Black Taurus on the outside, and he starts encouraging the referee to like start cutting him out, just like if I can get the victory this way, I'll take it, kind of situation, which I thought was interesting because a lot of people usually don't do that; they just want to win the match. Um, but yeah, and that Spanish fly, I loved how it looked too. Um, yeah, overall, the only thing I was torn between this one because when I kept seeing it, just I didn't know who was gonna win it though, because I felt like it was for a while all PJ Black, and then for a while it was Black Taurus. It was like good back and forth for me, so I didn't know who to pick. So when Black Taurus won, I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, I mean, going into the match for sure, coming into tonight, I was on the fence on this match. I know I said during Black Taurus's first round match that he was somebody that hadn't really ever had that chance to take off, and I couldn't necessarily see him in that role based on where he'd been up to this point. And then after PJ Black's match, I was kind of sold on the idea of him going deep into the tournament, especially the promo he cut after winning that match about going all the way and winning the title. So I was very back and forth. I think just the presentation of Black Taurus now, and specifically mentioning his winning streak and the way that they're making him feel like a big deal with Crazy Steve, giving him almost the Heyman-esque intro into the matches now, makes it feel like he is the right choice to be going into the finals here.
Yeah.
That said, we can jump right off the bat here. So this one led us into the finalization of what our X Division tournament final match for the X Division Championship is going to be. And it will be Black Taurus versus Trey Miguel. Astrid, hit me with it. Who do you got coming out of this match?
Yeah, this was one of those. I think it probably torn up by like half of this card at this point. But I would say based on the way I like it, I'm gonna go with Trey on this one because I really want Trey to have that title again, and I love his style, and he really sticks to me and stands out to me. So I really would like him to have a title again. So, what about you?
I wanted to say Trey. I wanted to say all along that I thought the Trey and Speedball match should have been the final. And it very well could have been the final. There was no reason you had to do the Kenny King spot last week to make it not be the final going into the tournament final. So on that aspect, as I started thinking more and more about it, and the fact that they decided to put Trey and Speedball on the same side of the bracket makes me think that neither one of them was actually coming out with the title, and makes me want to lean towards Taurus. And that was kind of really fed just by that overall presentation and feel that I was given in tonight's match for Taurus. As much as it wasn't a fantastic match and I was let down by that, I still think Taurus has really paid his dues in the company and is ready for a push and a run to see how he handles the title.
Yeah, so at least we're opposites for so far.
After we got through the match, we went backstage, and Scott D'Amore has Frankie Kazarian and Tracy Brooks on one side of him, and Josh Alexander and Jade on the other side of him. And this is the most awkward contract signing I have ever seen, with everybody sitting on the same bench facing towards the camera, talking across Scott like he's just a child in the middle. It was a very unique contract signing. I felt a very interesting way to go about it. Just very respectful. Josh crediting Frankie about their tag team match, how it's the best Frankie Kazarian he's ever seen, and he's at the top of his game, and really excited to face him. And Frankie too, given, oh yeah, you've been a great champion. I'm really happy with how you've taken the title and run with it, and it'll mean a lot to take the title off you. And Josh gets a little defensive about, oh, well, I'm sorry, you're not going to take the title from me. And then Frankie starts talking about his family, and Jade chimes in about what's your family going to do when you lose. And the tension starts to rise, and Scott just shuts it back down.
This one, I didn't know how to feel about it, because like you said, it was a unique setting. But it just when I think about contract signings, I get thinking how NXT does it with literally the camera on this one, you can see both sides of the table. So the way that they did the setting of basically a whole line of them like this, I thought it was unique and different for me. I'd never seen it set up that way. So we'll see if they decide to do it like this in the future. But I thought it was interesting that they were peaceful with their tones up until Jay spoke up. And just I like that moment was given to the woman and the whole part of it. And that's this whole started. She erupted everything in the segment here. But I love how they started with I respect you. I respect you as a husband, as a competitor, as a father, and that back and forth they had there. But I thought it was interesting that Tracy didn't say anything, because I expected after Jay said something, I expected Tracy to say something back to her, but she didn't. It was Cass though, so I thought that was interesting in that end of it when we watch it back. But yeah, just when Jay just goes, prepare your family for when you lose. I was like, woman, okay, I see where you're going with this, that confidence. But yeah, Scott D'Amore really shuts it down really quickly as well, so it's something that I expected to happen, being that he was right in the middle of it all. But overall, that was interesting. I like the way it was done and the way they delivered it, so it caught my interest the way they portrayed it though on TV.
Yeah, it was overall caught my interest, and I enjoyed it. The one thing that stood out as a negative for me on it was kind of the way that Frankie was the one to cut back on Jade. It almost came across as that idea of the men are talking, you don't have a place here. Yeah. And I could have definitely seen it better and being portrayed better if Tracy was the one to stand up and be like, who asked your opinion?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the only knock I had on it, was that it made Tracy feel like she was just a bystander there, and whereas Jade getting involved. It's really interesting that they've had the families involved in this, and that now this is the second time we've had Josh's family really playing heavily into a story. So I'm curious to see if we do get something here where Jade and Tracy get involved on the ringside at some point in time, or are they going to be sitting side by side against the fence line again and something falls apart and breaks down here, or how is this going to play out?
Yeah, it's what I think it was the last paper, or was it the Impact that they're teaming up, when I told you that both of the wives and the kids were sitting next to each other, but they kept pointing to the camera to them, but nothing really happened. So I wonder this is something that's going to play out now in the paper, that they point the camera to them in the audience, and something does happen this time though.
Yeah, for sure. So we had a quick break there, and then we came back, and Frankie and Josh were just backstage afterwards, kind of clearing the air between them, and a lot more respect. And Bully decides to pop his way through a door. I enjoyed this. I did. As much as we kind of knocked the whole Bully stuff, I enjoyed this part where he walks up and actually knocks on the door, and Frankie's like, the door's open, you don't need to knock. And he's like, well, everybody expected me to jump him from behind, so I just wanted to make sure you guys knew I was here.
Jeez, bully. It's funny also think about the visual, because you think about him being a backstabber, so you expect him to do anything from behind their backs rather than him knocking and being kind of respectful in that way when he came in. So it just kind of in a way trying to show you how that he's really changed. But has he though?
Yeah. Is it all a charade? Is it all an act? Are we just waiting for
Yeah.
the turn to come, or is this really the bully that we're going to be seeing the entire time? And bully makes a point of that too, where Frankie starts
Hmm.
calling him out like, I appreciate what you're trying to do and what you're saying, but we've known each other long enough. You don't actually expect me to believe that, do you?
Yeah.
Bully just saying, since you might be champion, Frankie, I just want you to know too, I'm going to come here, I'm going to look you in the eye, and I'm going to call my shot in advance. um we're definitely heading to a point where I think this match has to come sooner rather than later. I don't know how long you can play out this Bully Ray story. Um, I don't know. I don't know if you drag it out to Hard to Kill. I know we've talked a lot about Maclin being the guy at Hard to Kill,
Hmm.
regardless of whether it's Frankie or Josh. But at some point here, you have to have this Bully story actually come to fruition.
It just it taunts me because I don't want Bully to have the title. Like I said, I just want Steve to have it. And it's just like, do we come at a point that we have Josh versus Cass, Josh wins, and then next up it's Bully, and then Josh wins again, and then we have Macklin. I feel like it's it happens to me with the same thing with the Knockouts Championship when we get to that. Just like there's so many ways they could go about it because they could easily pick Cass and just go Cass and Bully, but at the same time, I'm not sold on it like I am with Josh being involved. So I'm torn when it comes to this, no matter how they point it out.
Yeah. Um, the other part I really enjoyed here, though, was the way Josh kind of snapped about it when Frankie starts calling out, and like even after Bully walks away, and Frankie's still telling him, "You can't trust that man." And Josh is like, "Why do I need to trust him? Everybody's coming for my title. I know everybody's coming for my title. He's just another challenger. It doesn't matter if I trust him or not. I know he wants the gold, and I know I'm gonna have to fight him eventually. So why does everybody? Why should I care what everybody else says?" And I like it kind of felt like he was just saying what everybody else in the audience has been saying. Like, why do we care?
Hmm.
Why does it matter what everybody else is telling Josh? Why do they all feel the need to have to come up and tell him, don't trust him, don't trust him, don't trust him. You can't trust him. He's untrustworthy. You can't trust him. Like, why is this a thing that had to go on for over a month now? And it felt like Josh kind of is starting to feel like the audience in that he is
Hmm.
the guy. Like, why do I need to keep hearing everybody chirping in my ear about this? And Frankie's then comes back and says, if you really want to know, go ask his best friend Dreamer. Dreamer will tell you.
I like how it just reminds me of that fact of like this whole time you see him just not reacting much. So when people tell him about the trusting part, instead it was just that he kind of like snapped a little bit, but not entirely. Like I'm waiting for something else to explode a little bit more when it comes to Josh. But yeah, I definitely feel the same way he has. It's just like, hey, we've heard it in so many ways. There's only so many ways you can say it in English. We need Spanish, French next. What? We already heard it. We don't need to hear it again.
Yeah, no, for sure. After this segment, we went to the four-way tag match, which was kind of thrown together through the week without too much built up around it. We had Ace Austin and Chris Bay versus the Aussie Open versus Shera and Raj Singh versus the Motor City Machine Guns. So we have four teams, three of which have had regular kind of time on Impact. Shera and Signh kind of being put together as a team now after Signh has spent most of the time just kind of being Shera's mouthpiece, was a unique piece to put together. How did you feel about this match coming together and how it played out?
Yeah, I felt like at first when I saw the promo, I was expecting it to be in some sort of like number one contenders match in some sort of way. So I was expected to have a stipulation to it. I was not expecting it to be just a four-way for the heck of it. So when I saw that, I was kind of thrown off by it that it didn't have any sort of announcement or stipulation to it. It was just here, a four-way. There you go. Um, but yeah, I like the teams, and I figured that there's other teams that are, I guess, popular in a way now at Impact, so it makes sense for them to be there. But overall, I was just surprised by the announcement.
Yeah, I know it was a solid
Mm.
match. It absolutely was a solid
Mm.
match. Fort Minor, definitely a contender for match of the night for sure. What I was going to say, I know that right off the bat, you had Tom and Matt made a comment. I think it was Matt Raywold actually that said, these 4 teams all in the tag team division. You got to imagine whoever wins this match is in the running for the next title
Yeah.
shot, but nothing officially. Mr. Ed Fry's joining us in the chat. Hello, my friend. Nice to see you out there. Would prefer to see you behind the scenes, but always nice to have you in the show.
And for those of you that don't know, if you subscribe to our local establishments, you get my emote. So that's the one that Ed has.
Overall, the match, I think it played out really well. I felt like Ace Austin and Chris Bay were the highlights of this match for sure. Just a ton of chemistry for those 2 guys. They really just, I don't even know how it didn't feel wrong for Ace Austin to play the man in peril for as long as he did in this match. In a 4 corners tag match where you've got somebody in every single corner of the ring that you could tag to, and yet somehow it wasn't until he actually made the tag to Sabin that I started thinking, wait a second, Ace has been in there as the face in peril for the entirety of this match, almost from the beginning until then. How did it not feel like it was wrong for him to not have tagged anybody yet? And the fact that we went a good, I want to say 5 minutes at least in this match, if not more, with Motor City Machine Guns not actually getting in the match at all.
Yeah, and for me, it was always between Ace Austin and Chris Bay, and then Aussie Open, where to me the ones that were in the ring out of the 4 teams. So I thought that was interesting to begin with, and the way that just Chris Bay and Austin, the way they do all these double team moves, I was like, holy crap! I try to keep up with them, and I love how they played off everything and how they kept showing off with their 2 suites as they did everything too. It was very well done for me. So I had fun watching this one, and I love how they did the ending as well too. I believe there was somebody that was coming in the ring just when Ace was doing the pin, so I thought the match was not gonna be over. So I was surprised when it had the 3 count, but I'm guessing that because Chris was nearby, he took care of the person and kind of took them outside, and they were able to win that way. But overall, this action they had here, there was definitely how they should have been an opener for me, because the action was a good back and forth for me.
Yeah, I think it was Sabin actually had climbed up on the apron right as he hit the fold. But Bay was right there and went over and grabbed Sabin on the apron and held him from being able to get to break up the pin there. But yeah, they gave so much offense and so much focus on Ace Austin and Bay. Definitely felt like they were the right choice to win this match.
Yeah, exactly. As Daphne said, this would have been a good as a numbers contenders match. Yeah, that's what I thought when they first posted the tweet. That I thought it would have said number contenders match in the bottom for like after Overdrive. But I was surprised it wasn't, but technically I guess it is.
Yeah, so yes, but no, because as we found out later in the night, they did end up announcing another match that came out from this match. After we finish the match, we end up backstage where Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary are together, but no Jessicka. Rosemary's asking, where is Jessicka? And I guess Taya hasn't seen her since last week, except on TikTok, where she's been doing TikTok dances, which supposedly were very bad, even though we didn't get to see them.
Yeah. I was surprised they didn't put them on screen somehow for us to watch them, but I thought it was funny the way. And she's like, look at them. But then instead of having the phone like at a good distance, she had the phone like up to Rosemary's face. Like, just like, how could you watch it like that? I would be squinting either way. But
maybe she's as blind as Crazy Steve.
perhaps.
But we get Taya explaining that she's already talked to Scott D'Amore. If Jessicka doesn't show up for the match tonight against Tasha Steelz, that Taya Valkyrie gets to step in, which we basically got immediately after this. We had a quick just the Jordan Grace promo that was put up on Twitter earlier in the week announcing the last knockout standing match against Masha. And then we went right into the Steelz versus Taya Valkyrie match. Astrid, you're a resident knockout expert.
I wouldn't say an expert. Sheesh. I was kind of surprised this was one after the other, because I expected after the promo to have one match and then this one to have a to have a breathe between what happened between them and that, because I feel like they could have run it more towards the end of the show to kind of give you the doubt, is Jessicka gonna show up or is it gonna be Taya, rather than just like, here, it might be me later, and it's just 5 minutes later she's the one out there, and I was like, oh, good to know it's you. So But I feel like this match, to me, it was such a quick match, which I didn't expect with Tasha involved. I was gonna count out later, and I didn't take a note how long it lasted, but I feel like it was just to highlight Taya to give them some kind of momentum going to Overdrive. But it felt super super quick to me. I was not expecting that. Even with Savannah being outside there too, but they had a good back and forth towards the end until Jessicka came in for the save, and she almost punched her partners too until she realized it was them and she didn't hit them. Which I thought was funny the way they interacted with her. But yeah, overall, I thought this is now how I expected Tasha match to go tonight at all.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah, the first note I took down to the match was that it was a quick match, so I'm glad we were on the same page with that, that I wasn't just crazy and thinking that it was a quick match. It almost makes me wonder if maybe Tasha wasn't 100% for these tapings, because we had the 1 week where she came out and basically intentionally got herself disqualified to set up the Savannah as the cannibal angle here now. And now another pretty quick match against Ty Valkyrie where there weren't a lot of really high spots or heavy spots. So makes me wonder where she was at health-wise when we were in Vegas for this show. It also now is back-to-back losses for Tasha Steelz, which is something I think we have to consider. Or is it even 3 in a row?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think it's 3 at this point.
Because did she get the win over Killer Kelly in the end or no?
I don't remember. I don't think she did, but I'm gonna have to look back.
Yeah,
I have a terrible memory, people.
No, she did. She did, because we were talking last week about Killer Kelly coming off the loss to Tasha.
Okay.
So she got the win in that one. So yeah, this is the disqualification where she said she was too good to wrestle the local talent, and now a roll up against Taya Valkyrie going into a title match is not looking good unless you're really invested in the reverse momentum theory. But the match itself just kind of happened. We had the shenanigans afterwards. Tasha getting mad about losing, attacking Taya. You have Rosemary coming to help. You have Savannah come in to attack Rosemary. And then just as you're seeing Taya and Rosemary getting beaten down, it's because I'm sick. And you get Jessicka coming out in a hat with 2 beer cans and the straws down to her mouth. So apparently she's been drinking ever since last week's show. And she has a sash on, a bright pink sash that reads Shots Queen. So I guess this is where we're going with Jessica's character right now. And
I forgot she's in Vegas too, so that doesn't help.
and my note after she came out, I acknowledged what she was wearing, and all I wrote was I don't know.
I don't either. I don't know what that was. But
I don't know what to think of this. I don't know what to think of the Death Dolls. I find Rosemary to be really weird in this angle. I think Taya and Jessicka could maybe be something without Rosemary. Taya and Rosemary could be something without Jessicka. The trio, ever since they've came together, it just seems like it's a really weird fit. So I guess we'll kind of see what happens and what plays out tomorrow. Obviously, we've got this tag title match. I think we've kind of locked in the fact that it is going to be Taya and Jessicka defending the titles now against Tasha and Savannah. I'll let you go first again on this one since it's knockouts. Who do you got?
Well, with the way this went tonight, I'm leaning more towards the Death Dolls at this point, but is Jessicka gonna not show up and then Rosemary takes her place, I'm guessing, which is what makes me think after what happened tonight. But yeah, other than that, I don't think I see Tasha and Savannah winning after the way it's been the past couple of weeks. I don't know. What about you?
No, I'm on the same page here. I do think just the way this played out with Jessicka coming out and standing tall, and you had the Death Dolls kind of reigning supreme. I don't think this is a case where we are looking at reverse momentum. I do think this is still a case of the Death Dolls being built as champions and going on probably a decent length reign after this, as I don't know kind of who else is really out there for knockouts tag teams right now to come around for a bit.
Yeah, I really don't have anybody that I can think of that could go against them either.
Yeah. Coming out of that, we get Josh now backstage approaching Tommy Dreamer, as was told to do by Frankie Kazarian. And Tommy, in a really roundabout, weird kind of way, lists off all of Bully's betrayals to him and everyone else, and how everybody has managed to forgive him. That it was basically just a speech about forgiveness. It's not that he might betray you; it's that we all forgive him in the end. I don't get what you're trying to say here, Tommy, but okay. But basically, the gist of it is he tells Josh at the end, if I can trust Bully, so can you.
Yeah, this way, this is not it. It's like, I don't trust him. I really don't, no matter what happens. But yeah, just it feels weird. But I know this is from Tommy, so it's funny the way he says it because he's been through everything with Bully at this point, coming from him. But at the same time, I'm glad she went over to him after he was instructed to do so and just kind of plainly just asked him. But yeah, I just like, don't trust Bully. We already know this. Can we move on from this? I'm already tired of the trusting Bully kind of thing. Jeez. Please.
Yeah, no. The real question is, can we trust Tommy? And I'm still not sold on that one.
Yeah.
We get a quick promo backstage from Trey Miguel, and this kind of plays in. I know we did our picks for the X Division title. This kind of played a little bit into my idea on Black Taurus winning as well. Just the way Miguel was really selling the attack from Kenny King, how much pain he was in from that. But he's basically motivated. He's going to get his belt back. He'll fight through whatever he needs to fight through to get there. The fact that we're seeing Miguel really selling the pain and the injury angle of this really kind of amplified what I was already starting to feel about Black Taurus.
Yeah, I like how he kept stretching on his back, like, but I did like the part he said we both paid the price for it, and he said basically, "I'm gonna take it as a blessing in disguise, and like because of what happened, I'm here, so I'm just gonna take it and just win after this," which I liked about it. But I like how when he didn't forget about the injury and he kept stretching out his back as he was talking, kind of like, "Don't forget, I got hit a couple of minutes ago," so I like that part of it. But overall, that it made me excited for him, just like now that I got here, it doesn't matter how I got here, but I'm still gonna end up winning, which I like to see, or like even for him to say it.
Yeah, no, for
But
sure. Nice to see Carl in the chat. Happy to have you join us. We come out of that Trey Miguel promo and we get right into a Dreamer match. And I feel like we're just going to start calling them all Dreamer matches at this point because they all make me want to go to sleep and have a dream.
hey, that's a Wendy Chu thing. Stop stealing my gimmick.
This is supposed to be an old school rules match, so I assume by that they must not have the rights to call it an ECW match, is why they decided to go old school. But really, it was just no DQ, pins and submissions, but a typical no DQ match. They tried. Maclin specifically tried his best to really sell Dreamer's offense and to make this a hard hitting, like tight fought affair. It didn't work. Didn't work for me. It didn't work for the match. I feel like Macklin's in a position where he shouldn't be having to put on a match like this with a Tommy Dreamer. If we really want to see him in a title match against Josh Alexander soon and potentially carrying the Impact World Championship in a couple months here, we need to be putting Maclin in a place where a Tommy Dreamer is so far below him that this isn't a match that happens with a Dreamer. This is a match where Maclin just comes out. Maybe Dreamer gets one or two hits in, but Maclin just absolutely destroys and demolishes a guy like that.
Yeah, I had points at this match that I thought Dreamer was gonna win, and I was kind of getting worried about it because I kept thinking Steve should have the momentum going into this. So why would Dreamer win this? Please don't do this to him. I feel like that would kill him and his character and the storyline. So I kept watching like, no, please don't win. I feel like the trash can is the one that made Steve go to sleep, so he may have something in common with you at this point. But it was just the trash can versus Steve. That's what it felt like to me. It wasn't Tommy at this point. I saw more of the trash can than Tommy.
You had so many spots here, like the two that I specifically noted down. The corner elbow drop by Tommy Dreamer, that was absolutely awful. That looked like an old man trying to jump off the top ropes and just falling. Like he went to jump and just went, oh wait, I fell. And then when Tommy tried to bring the table into the ring, and he
Oh
couldn't
my
even get the
god.
table into the ring by himself. He
I
had
feel
to call
bad.
Mr. Impact, one of the most consistent Impact Wrestling fans at every single one of their shows, to jump the barricade and come help him lift the table into the ring. That would be like me going to a show and somebody calling me into the ring to help put a table in because they can't lift it themselves. That's embarrassing for Tommy Dreamer at that point. Like, you just stick to the backstage work, Tommy.
Oh gosh. Hey Troy. Yeah, when I saw that I was like, there's no way there's a fan actually helping him put a table inside this ring. Aren't you supposed to be the professional in this situation? Because it doesn't seem that way. But yeah, overall explain this to me because I don't want to see this.
Really, I think the gist of this match happening was just to build up to what happened after the fact.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that really came out of this. So we get the win. Maclin finishes off Tommy in the middle of the ring, 1, 2, 3, and then decides he's not done with him. He needs to try and retire Dreamer. Goes in for the attack. We get Bully comes to help Dreamer. We get Moose comes to attack Bully. And then somehow Moose and Maclin end up on the same page again, which, we keep kind of running into this where
Mhm.
they have very common enemies in a lot of these situations. And then, of all people, right as Moose and Maclin are about to put Bully through the table, Josh Alexander decides to come out and help Bully Ray. I guess his speech with Tommy Dreamer finally kind of clicked with him that everybody keeps telling him not to trust him and talks to Tommy for 2 minutes and is like, okay, I can trust this guy.
It felt like opposite day. All he heard was trust him. So that's why he went down there and did it.
Um, Josh takes out Moose and Maclin. They grab Maclin together, or him and Bully, put him through the table, and then Bully picks up the title belt, and Josh picks up the Call Your Shot trophy, and they have a very awkward standoff across Macklin's body, holding each other's prizes.
And just like, we'll do it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. That's what I was expecting to see.
But then they kind of set up to do that, and Josh gives the trophy back, and Bully still holds on to the title. Like, what are you doing, Bully? Give the belt back.
It's like I said 3. But, yeah.
We are going to save the Josh Alexander pick for the very end of the show here. But we will at this point. So we've got Bully and Moose. Kind of this was the last segment we got leading into their match. Again, another table brought in. This is a tables match we have for Overdrive. Bully Ray versus Moose. Scumbag versus X Scumbag. With Bully holding the Call Your Shot trophy and on his way to a very likely title match, I think I have to go with Bully Ray in this one.
Yeah, this one I don't see any reason why Moose should winning at this point. He doesn't have anything going on the way Bully does, so to me it's something that I expect Bully to win unless somebody comes in and decides to just, not have him have that momentum towards the title match, which I would understand. But I can only see Bully winning at this point.
Yeah, that's definitely the way that I'm seeing it too. The only way I see Bully losing this is if Moose has somebody, either whoever attacked Ace Austin, since we haven't touched back on that
I
story
was
yet.
gonna say that too. We haven't even heard about that. Who the heck did it?
Yeah, we haven't got any confirmation. Was it Moose? Did I miss something in a commentary somewhere where Moose actually admitted to this? Because I don't recall hearing or seeing anything. That I think we still have that kind of unanswered story. We haven't seen Juice Robinson since that episode. So there's some possibility here that we might see somebody show up to screw over Bully just to keep a win in Moose's books. Barry, the man that I've been questioning and mistrusting and doubting the entire time. I definitely think it could be Dreamer here, and maybe we finally get a Bully versus Dreamer match on this retirement tour, as I think it is for Bully.
Is he gonna put both of us to sleep then? I guess.
Maybe. Oh. Once we finish this segment, we got the first official interview with Masha Slamovich since she's debuted in Impact Wrestling. Not about Masha, still about Tommy Dreamer, I think. But why? Why Impact? Why? I'm not sure. What did you think of the Masha interview?
I was just surprised, I guess, that Even when if she wasn't replying in English, and all of a sudden Gia would just go in with the next question as if she understood what she said, which I thought was funny from the end of it. Because I look at it this way: we're reading the subtitles, and Gia is not, but she's just, yeah, we'll keep going with the next one as if it didn't happen. So I thought that was funny from my end, but it was pretty simple. I was not expecting for her to say too much. But I thought the best part was when she said, "What are we expecting to watch?" She goes, "Death." And there's that one answer. That was all we needed.
Just the one word at the end. I was kind of watching it. It almost seemed like Gia she was asking her set questions and not actually like responding to what Masha was saying. So Masha could understand her, but she had no idea what Masha was saying back. So she's just like, I'm gonna ask the next question. Because twice, like both of the first two questions,
Yeah.
or the lead off of the very first. I don't even remember what the question was anymore. I didn't take a note of what she asked. All I know is Masha. The answer was, "That is a question that I would expect from a young girl or a little girl to ask." I'm like, what? And then she's again the second question. "That is another question that I would expect from an idiot."
I hope Gia didn't look at those subtitles later because I'll feel bad for her.
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun and entertaining. It was nice to see Masha get a chance to actually show some personality. Even if it is in Russian and we have to read the subtitles for it, I'm still okay with it. It just makes her look like even more of a badass going into this match.
Yeah, very true.
That said, this match, Masha Slamovich in the rematch against Jordan Grace, last knockout standing for the Knockouts World Champion. Where are you leaning going into this?
This is the one I was mentioning earlier that I'm really torn about because you and I were talking about this even before the show happened during the whole week when it was announced. Because I keep thinking, and I blame Ella for putting this idea in my head. So thanks, Ella. I have no other reason why. But I keep thinking, okay, if Jordan wins, it doesn't make Masha look good again. It's twice in a row after having a streak, and then you lose twice in a row, just like this. But then on top of it, I would like Masha to win because I wanted Masha to go against Mickey because Mickey's the one that brought Masha in as the pick your poison. So I think that would be interesting. They do go against each other after Mickey goes against Taylor. So that's why I'm torn about it and the way and the route they could go in. So I don't know who to pick this one, but I'm gonna stick to Jordan for now. But I'm torn, definitely for sure.
Yeah, pop up Barry's comment here that if Impact did have, or if Impact didn't have subtitles, absolutely I would expect Masha here to be saying a word or two in English. I think Masha is actually fluent in English. Not 100% certain on that, but I'm fairly certain I've seen interviews with her fully done in English before, so it wouldn't be hard for her to turn it on. But yeah, for her to be portraying this badass Russian character that she is, it makes sense for her to just be. Obviously, she understood everything Gia was asking her, so we know she speaks and understands English. She just chooses to speak Russian because she doesn't care about any of us being able to read it. She wants to make people work to have to understand what she's saying. And before I give my pick, Fort Minor thinks that this will lead to Masha winning, then face Mickey afterwards as well. I'm in the same boat as you, Astrid, on this one. I know we went back and forth when we discussed it at the end of last week's show that it really could go either way. The title reign for Jordan at this point doesn't really feel long enough. It doesn't feel like even though she's been putting on banger after banger after banger of matches with everyone she's faced since winning the title, it doesn't feel like she's been the champion long enough at this point to lose it. So that said, I could also see Jordan in a position where she's the one that could be allowed that opportunity to retire Mickey James. And on the flip side of the coin, Masha Slamovich has been so dominant and so powerful. I don't know where you take a character like Masha next. We had her in this position where she was beating down everybody in such quick succession, and everybody was so quick that she lost to until Jordan. I feel like I'm leaning on Masha here. I feel like I'm leaning that route because I don't know where Masha could go next without the title. Whereas I think Jordan can come out of this, and maybe you have Jordan versus Mickey without needing the belt around it. You could have Jordan and Deonna come around again. Lots of different places you could take Jordan, and I feel like Masha just needs it more at this point in order, like in the succession and growth of her character.
Yeah. And to go to Ed's comment, is Jordan Sheamus now? Well, why not?
We have just a brief backstage reminding us that Sami Callihan's still to come. And then a Laredo Kid and Rich Swann match, which was announced earlier in the week as well. Really quick start, really quick paced match in this. Not a lot that really stood out as major in this match for me. The big thing that I caught that they made sure to like mention and recognize on commentary and got a big chant out of the crowd was Laredo Kid when he went to the outside and did the Viva La Raza, the shoulder shake as he was climbing the top rope. Got a really, really big Eddie chant. Always appreciate the shout outs to one of the greatest luchadors of all time in any kind of luchador situation like this. And for Laredo, I'm sure it was a big thing for him as well.
Yeah, I enjoyed the match. It felt really short and really quick. But yeah, I love just Eddie tributes. I enjoy it. It has been one of the reasons why I fell in love with wrestling in the first place. So anytime I see any kind of tribute, I'll take it. But yeah, it was when he did that frog splash and even that and those little parts like that. So I was expecting him to kind of win it. But I think he was hurt recently, not if I'm not mistaken. So that's what made me think that probably Rich was winning it. But I guess it was kind of to get that momentum towards Overdrive for the match that was announced later on. But other than that, I didn't find a point to this really.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of it was for Rich to get his momentum back as well. The last time we saw Rich would have been the match against Eric Young where he was kind of attacked by the design prior to the reveal of Khan and Angels in the group, where there was just the yellow hoodies beating him down. So it was kind of a place to put over VBD, and Rich took the fall out of that. So this just seemed like a good way to get him back into the win column leading into that match as well. Coming out of that match, just a quick backstage between Mickey and Taylor, and you called this one last week, that, you know, they're setting up their match for tomorrow night. Taylor against Mickey in the last rodeo and the chance to retire her. Mickey calls out Taylor for, you know, the one thing's been bugging me all week that I can't get over is I told you to stay backstage and you didn't. You called it. You said all along you thought that was how they were going to build to the match tomorrow night. Now was that Taylor obviously says, you know, I just wanted you to like win or lose. Like if you were going to lose, I wanted you to lose fair and square, and I was just taking Deonna out of the equation. But that said, I didn't want you to lose last week because I want to be the one to retire you.
Yeah. This part, I was not expecting it to be a backstage segment though. I thought it would have been some kind of promo of her calling out Taylor and asking her, I told you not to come out. Why would you come out and kind of not have them brawling in a way, but kind of have that heated argument in the ring, and for her to give her that reasoning. I like how the way she answered it though. And she just goes, "Well, I don't want her to retire. If anything, I want me to do it. So that's why I helped too." And then she just smiles as she leaves, and Mickey's like, "I see where you're coming from." It's like she's not gonna do it then like you want to do it, which she kind of understood in that way. But I like the way the facial expressions and the way they sold everything. I just expected it to be in the ring and not backstage. But it was exactly how I pictured it last week.
Fort Minor, Mickey's last match with Taylor would be wise. Not sure I would lean that way. I feel like Astrid and I have kind of been a little harsh on Taylor the last month or so since she's came back, that her in-ring and her wrestling hasn't really impressed or stood out to either of us. So I think this is a match. It should be good for her to get to be in the ring and in a match with a person of Mickey's caliber, but I don't think Taylor's at that place where the rub would really benefit her as a whole, given that she just doesn't feel over in general.
Yeah, I feel like it will end up just like most of Mickey's matches, just like shaking the hands of her opponents and her beating them. I think it does help in a way with Taylor that she's going against Mickey. Mickey's the one that's probably going to outshine it, and she's also going to help her through the match. So I see it coming out as a good match because Mickey's involved, not because of Taylor. But at the same time, just like I said, maybe Masha wins, and then just we have Mickey kind of facing her after she wins the match, as to after the Knockouts Championship match, to like end it that way and to give us that insight that maybe for the next paper we will get Mickey and Masha.
How do you feel about Mickey and Masha in a Mickey's last rodeo match at Hard to Kill?
Yeah.
You know,
Also,
Mickey going through this last rodeo, really kind of setting up that she's hard to kill. She's not going down. Would it work, and would it make sense for her to lose at Hard to Kill,
I think I don't want Mickey to
or
lose though.
do you draw it out to like a sacrifice in March,
Mm,
or
yeah.
potentially to next year's? You've got Rebellion next summer too, right? You've got a few months where you can play around with this and let her kind of run her way through the entire division for a while. I think Hard to Kill is too quick. I think Sacrifice might be something where it would play a little bit better in a timeline for when the last rodeo can kind of run its course. That said, let's jump into it. Mickie James and Taylor Wilde. I think I've kind of already given away my side on this, that I'm leaning that this is not where we see Mickie kind of taking her final bow. This smaller exclusive event against a competitor like a Taylor Wilde just feels like it's another spot for her to add one more notch on her belt, building to something bigger and potentially losing it in that title match, that final step of the way.
Yeah, for me, win or lose for Mickey, it'll be in a bigger paper than just Overdrive. So I don't expect it to, if anything, I don't expect it to lose at this pay per view. Like I said, like we've been saying, Taylor hasn't been the best for me since she has returned. So I don't expect her to win. I don't feel that she has a benefit towards winning versus we do have Mickey's career on the line. So I would prefer Mickey to win. And like we've been saying, hopefully build up to Mickey and Masha because I think that makes the most sense to me at the moment. So if Mickey does lose or win in the last rodeo match against Masha, have that be in a bigger pay per view. So maybe we have Masha and Jordan have a rematch at first, and then after that, Mickey gets involved. But either way, I only see Mickey coming out victorious out of this one.
Yeah. Once we got through that segment, we got Frankie Kazarian backstage video package again. Admittedly, I jumped through this because I was running a little behind on the show to try and catch up on some time. I thought it was just the same video package we'd already watched last week, but I did notice they had incorporated and added the segments of the contract signing from earlier in the night. Was there anything else? Did you watch the promo? Did you catch anything else unique that stood out in this package that I may have missed?
No, I was behind too, so I just skipped it.
Yeah.
And plus, it ended the same way, so I thought it was the same one too.
Yeah, it looked basically the same, just added a couple little pieces in there. We already kind of went over how hyped we are going into that match and how these video packages have hyped it up as additionally. So Fort Minor talking about the stress being there either way. Obviously, I think anytime we see Mickey in a ring right now, you never know where it's going to come. I feel like on anything that's a pre-recorded, obviously it'll probably be given away when that happens, so you're not going to do it there. A live show like tomorrow night is where you're really going to see the stress of it coming out, that we don't know what's going to happen until the match ends. And Barry kind of on the same page as us here, that Mickey's winning this, that it'd be a massive anticlimax if it happens on an event like tomorrow against a Taylor Wilde.
Mm-hmm.
So then we jumped in and we got the rundown of the Overdrive card. And they started by announcing 2 brand new matches for the countdown to Overdrive starting tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern, 5:30 Mountain Time on YouTube and the Impact Wrestling YouTube channel and on Impact Plus. A 6-person X Division match: Kenny King versus Yuya Uemura versus Bhupinder Gujjar versus Jason Hotch versus Mike Bailey versus Rich Swann. So it's just kind of thrown together. Obviously, the big kind of piece to keep an eye on here, I think, is that we get Kenny King and Speedball in this match.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely certain where I feel like I'm leaning. Do you have an idea where you're going with this, Astrid?
This is one that when they put it in, I was trying to in my mind already make my pick, and it was already complicated because I thought about it this way: it's a multi-man, so if somebody like Speedball loses, he doesn't lose by getting pins most likely. So I was leaning towards him winning, but if he does lose, he's protected in that sort of way. So I was leaning maybe for the moment for Kenny to win this, and then maybe set up with him and Speedball or something happening, and then what we have Trey having that title match in the tournament. So that's what I was thinking about, but I don't. I'm between Kenny King and Bailey somehow.
I feel like I'm almost on the point where I think Kenny and Speedball are going to nullify each other in this match. They're going to cancel each other out. They're going to brawl into the crowd, brawl backstage, just be too preoccupied with each other to focus on the other opponent. So it came down to the other four for me. Obviously, Rich Swann got his win tonight, going in with some momentum. Bhupinder Gujjar had a win on last week's show, I think it was, where he has some momentum going. Yuya Uemura on BTI has some momentum. And Jason Hotch, the last time we saw him was the loss to surprisingly absent tonight, Joe Hendry. I want to say I'm leaning towards Gujjar in this situation. I feel like Bhupinder Gujjar has looked really, really good. This will be his first official X Division match, I believe. Until this point, he hasn't really had anything that's been classified or admittedly announced as an X Division. Putting him in the ring with these five guys, I think, will be a really good barometer of where he's at.
Yeah, and Gordon Berry's comment, I'll be happy if Yuya wins, give him a push is good enough. Yeah, it kind of gave me that vibe when he won the match as well. So I was thinking about him afterwards. But the good thing about this multi-man match, you never know what route they will go in. But I'm still sticking with people on Kenny for now.
Yeah. I'm at the point with Jason Hotch. I really enjoyed what he did with Joe Hendry, but I think he's the man that takes the pin here.
Mm-hmm.
Next, they announced the other match that's going to be on the countdown to Overdrive, which I think stems from that 4-person tag match earlier in the night that we're getting Ace Austin and Chris Bay versus Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, the Motor City Machine Guns versus the Bullet Club. I think I have to go with the Motor City Machine Guns out of this. I think we had such an exposure for Ace and Bay coming out of the match earlier tonight. But the only thing that makes sense with this that they didn't just give Ace and Bay the number one contendership coming out of that after beating Sabin and Shelley in that match is that we're going to see Sabin and Shelley take that win back and get their number one contendership.
Yeah, because I saw this match and I thought it was interesting because based on how the match went about, I would have picked Aussie Open instead of Machine Guns to be in this match, or just automatically give the Bullet Club the number one contender spot because they won that 4-way. Because I felt that important in the card tonight. So when I saw this, I thought it was interesting, and then I thought, well, since Bullet Club just won the 4-way, maybe they did that so that way the Machine Guns can win this match instead, and that's why they give him that victory so close to the pay-per-view. So I'm going with the Machine Guns, but I'm kind of disappointed in a way that the Bullet Club is not the one that just got the number one contender spot here.
Now, as Carl puts it, that's Bullet Club Light. I think Carl and Luke were supposed to be the official Bullet Club, so we got Bullet Club Light in Impact now. Barry, it definitely should be a great match. I'm not sure. Astrid, do you know what the blue titles the Machine Guns are holding in that picture are?
I'm trying to remember which ones they won. I need a moment. Hold on. Yeah, I know I saw them win a match recently, but I wasn't sure which one.
Oh, and Ed out here trying to make waves again.
They're a strong openweight tag team championship.
So those are the titles that Aussie Open had held in NJPW Strong, and the ones that they were talking about that Aussie Open were the first strong tag team champions that Motor City Machine Guns have them now.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I am a little bit behind on my New Japan, or
I was going to say, aren't you a New Japan guy? What happened?
Depending on perspective, I'm a little bit or a lot of it because I've been giving all of my attention to Impact for the last few months.
Okay, fair enough.
The other match on Overdrive that we didn't actually have anything for, not a single promo, not a single mention of Obviously, Bullet Club and Motor City Machine Guns are our number one contenders match for the tag titles. Well, the tag titles themselves are on the line tomorrow night. That we get Heath and Rhino taking on the major players, Brian Myers and Matt Cardona. We didn't have Myers, we didn't have Cardona, we didn't have Heath, and we didn't have Rhino tonight. But we're going to have all four of them tomorrow night on the main card of Overdrive. I think I have to stick with Heath and Rhino in this one. I don't think we've really got enough out of the major players for me to think that they're winning the titles.
Yeah, not only that, but I'm thinking like what could happen afterwards, and I don't see anything happen with the major players. Plus, we have those rumors of Cardona going back to WWE, so I don't see much of anything happening here. If anything, all I see is Brian maybe going after Joe Henry and getting a rematch for the digital media championship. But other than that, I don't see any type of route happening between them here. Um, so I just figure whoever wins that number one contenders match will go against Ethan Rhino afterwards.
Yeah. I hadn't really heard as much, and I don't know if Cardona is a guy that would go back or would have a place to go back in WWE, where he would be as over and as big as he is right now in more of the Impact and NWA and indie world. So I also saw Cardona yesterday or today making a comment on Twitter about himself being the internet champion. So I could see us getting to a point where Cardona is another one that could turn and start going after Hendry.
Yeah. See?
Yeah. I mean, you never know in this world. There's so many moving pieces in the wrestling world that I'm never certain on what to believe anymore as far as who's going where or who's not going anywhere.
Exactly.
Finally, we get into the main event of the evening. We had the Death Machine double Jeopardy. That's what it was. I had to refresh my memory. Death and double Jeopardy match between Eric Young and Sami Callihan. I was admittedly positively or hesitantly optimistic going into this, that I thought it was something that could be a really good idea and play out really well. It lost me right off the bat. The attack by VBD on the ramp that busted Sami open, that you have Sami wrestling from underneath right off the bat, just it made it feel like there was less stakes. Which, I mean, it shouldn't when you have somebody that's already bleeding, so the double Jeopardy part's taken away, but it made the match itself feel kind of pointless. It made the rules feel pointless. It made it feel like there wasn't as much to hope for.
This from Carl Turnbuckle Studios. I'll take the weird match names for 200, please.
I'm with Barry here. Is Jeff Jarrett secretly sending Impact new match ideas?
No, he's doing that to NXT now.
Or Fort Minor too. This very easily could have just been a barbed wire massacre match, and it would have had the same effect for me. I feel like if they had actually done a lot more, like, obviously you don't want to have to bust someone open the hard way, but I'd like to see this idea played out maybe in a fashion where somebody just takes and like, I liked the spot where Sami took the picture of the death dolls and like tried to paper cut Eric through the side of his lip. Like, obviously that'd be painful and you wouldn't want to do that, but something like that where you just have to make the person bleed, right? Well, you don't have to make them gush blood out of their forehead. Just take and like staple their hand or something so they just got a little dribble of blood and suddenly you can pin them. Now they're bleeding.
Yeah, I feel like the attack at the beginning just threw me off course already, which wasn't a good way to start the match to begin with. But thinking about it this way, he said you have to bleed to be eligible to pin the person. So that's why we're like, let's help him out and have him to have that advantage of it, that he can pin him right away. But it just, the timing of it and the way it started, I kept thinking, does that mean Sami's not even going to start the match because he was at the top of the apron when this happened? But I looked at the timer and we still had like 20 minutes left. So it's like, okay, so this is still happening. Good to know. But yeah, it was like, another thing is this type of match, the guys could have easily come in and helped EY. And we didn't see anything until the end. Maybe it was
They announced it when they announced the match last week, though, that everybody was banned from ringside.
True, yeah. But I guess for the type of match, I expected more outside interference in it somehow. and he didn't. So I was surprised on that, but I remember now what you said. But yeah, just the match itself. And I think the part that I remember the most has been the paper cut part with the Dead Dolls picture of all people. Um,
And the
but I
fact that
just,
Sami had to draw attention to it when he pulled it out and held up the picture. Death dolls!
yeah, it's like I have my girlfriend's picture here. Good to good to show her off. Um, but yeah, just even the ending itself, I thought Iwa had won, and it wasn't he. It was Sami winning. But at the same time, I thought it's your match, so I hope you win this, Sami. For goodness sake, if you don't win it, we have problems at this point. Um, but it wasn't like I thought it would have been. I was disappointed by the execution of it. I don't want to see this again. Sorry, Sami. So hopefully you have better luck doing another type of match.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good attempt. I think there's potential in the match itself. I think I had hopes that guys like Eric and Sami would have the ability to really pull it off and make it feel special. Was definitely let down by it. It felt like the stipulations just didn't have much bearing on the match as a whole. But we're also at a point now where we're 1-1. Eric won with the outside interference from VBD. Sami won a match of his own design. And then we finished this match with a very interesting scene in the ring that we probably won't really get to see play out until next week on Impact with Diener, Angels, and Khan. They come down and EY is in a bloody pool of his own fluids, barely able to pull himself up, and Diener looking down on him, almost disappointed. That it I actually had typed it in my notes that VBD come down and turn on EY, and then I had
Yeah.
to correct my note because they didn't turn on him. It was just an awkward stare down at the
Mhm.
end with the credits up, and then we cut and ended the show. So curious to see where this goes. Curious to see, um, could we almost see this play out in the same way as we saw with Rhino when he started having all the losses and failing Violent by Design? Does Diener somehow take the leadership role and start putting EY through the paces and through the tests to, really prove himself and earn his spot in the group?
Yeah, just like you, I was ready to type it, and I'm like here, almost going. Oh, they're going on the attack, and then before I started typing it, I kept staring at my iPad. No, it's not happening. No, okay. That was weird to watch it. And then the way Kong was moving, he kept moving his arms, so I thought he was gonna go for it, and then he didn't. So I was like staring at my iPad, like, okay, this was awkward at times, but yeah, I guess they're gonna have to get him to go through some trials and just like, if you're the leader, you better start winning kind of situation. Because as a leader, why would you keep losing like this?
Yeah, Barry saying that they've put the aftermath on the app, but said it was too gruesome to put on YouTube. Obviously, we hopped on the air, I guess, too quick. I did see something on the Impact where they showed the bloody crimson mask that Eric was wearing, and they talked about gruesome. I thought they were just talking about the match themselves. I'll have to pop that up and have a peek at it once we get off the air here.
Yeah.
Um, Overall, strong showing though. Lots of kind of strong build going into tomorrow's Overdrive show. Lots of good matches to look forward to, and some stuff to look forward to coming out of the show as well. We've got a few different moving pieces. We've got the Kenny and Speedball story that we still got to see play out some more. We've got now the Violent by Design story. Where does Sami and Callihan go next? Lots of different things on the move. Maclin as well. We don't have Maclin on the card tomorrow.
No.
So where does he end up filling a spot on the Overdrive show? You can't possibly leave Maclin off the show completely, right? He has to fit in somewhere, even if it is just a backstage segment or as a bystander of the Frankie and Josh match. I'm sure we have to see him somewhere in the building tomorrow night.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of see him getting involved somehow, whether it's a distraction, just walking down to the apron, just like you have him now, but kind of like I'm next or I'm coming soon towards Josh, maybe.
Yeah. So the only match that we haven't given our kind of opinion on, we saved the best for last, I think, that Josh Alexander and Frankie Kazarian, we've talked a lot about it. We've had a lot of build to this match since Frankie handed over the X Division title and cashed in for Option C to take his shot at his first ever Impact World Championship in his long, storied, and tenured career with Impact Wrestling. Astrid, I'm going to throw it to you first. How are you leaning? Who do you feel?
Hmm. This is another one that I was torn about because of the possibilities after the pay-per-view itself, but I'm sticking with Josh. I don't want Josh to lose it, especially on a pay-per-view like Overdrive. If he loses, I want it to be in a bigger stage with a bigger storyline involved, because I feel like him and Maclin will be like endgame for me. And as much as I like Cass and I want him to win that world title, I don't want Josh to lose though.
Yeah, they've done such a great job in this story, just in a short time since Kaz came back, to of really making him feel like a legit contender, somebody that deserves to be there, somebody who's going to be a strong challenger and a competitor and really hold their own in the ring with Josh Alexander. That even the story build in the background of all of the times that he's came close and never made it, and his multiple X Division championships and his multiple tag team championships and everyone that he's wrestled and everywhere that he's been and all of the champions that he's beaten but never got to be champion himself, that if Kaz wins, I won't be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
I thought coming into this that there's no way I would want Kaz to win. I still want Josh to win. I still think there's somebody bigger for Josh to lose to. But if Kazarian wins the title tomorrow night, it's well deserved and a long time coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm taking Josh Alexander in this. I think we worked too hard to get to Josh as champion for him to lose to Frankie, unfortunately. I hope at some point Frankie eventually gets his title, but this isn't it.
Yep, totally agree.
That's it. That's our show for tonight. That's our rundown and preview and picks and predictions for tomorrow night. Astrid, the only thing left at this point, who was your impact maker?
Oh, jeez, tonight. Well, I'm gonna cheat a little bit and just go Bullet Club.
For the first time, we're on the same page. It's the only real standout performance of the night for me was Bullet Club Light. I had to go with it. It's specifically Ace Austin. Bay was obviously a big part of it, but Ace Austin, if I'm naming one person, it has to be him. I feel like he was the star of that 8-person tag match.
Yeah, and going to Barry's comment, I hope Impact are able to sign Kazarian, perfect fit for Impact, and the type of wrestler that might get Impact taken more seriously by non-Impact fans.
Obviously, Frankie, I think, is still technically under contract to AEW, so he's got to fulfill his obligations there. If he doesn't get a big role in AEW and he can actually commit long-term to Impact, I would love to see him come back as one of those veteran guys to really help bring forth the next era of Impact and the next generation of stars getting a chance to really do battle with him the same kind of way that I'm hoping Bully's last hurrah right now is going to do, and bring that veteran presence to a young locker room and a lot of newcomers and up and coming guys to get them to that next level in Impact.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Okay, that's the show. For myself, you can find me on Twitter at Cody Defoe, on Twitch at Cody Defoe, here every Thursday night with the wonderful Astrid Pizarro, making an impact, talking all things Impact Wrestling. We will be back next Thursday. We will not have a show tomorrow night for Overdrive. We will talk the Overdrive show next week following Impact Wrestling before we dive into next week's show. So it might be a little bit of a longer show next week. We hope you can join us and talk Impact Overdrive and the Fallout show at that point. Astrid, where can we find you?
My Twitter, if it exists after tonight, because Twitter is going in shambles tonight. But other than that, my Instagram is AstridPizarro20. You can find me Tuesdays doing Taking Over with Parrish. Thursdays, back with this one, doing Making an Impact. And Monday, hopefully, I'll have an interview with Women's Wrestling Talk. And on the weekends, I do my NXT review with Women's Wrestling Talk as well. Aside from us, we also support All Elite Podcast. So if you can follow them in their socials, and everything they do for Turnbuckle Talk. We have Carl here in the chat with us tonight too. Even Bobby, who was in the chat earlier, doing MOW, usually before us on Thursdays as well. So we had that double feature between us on Thursdays as well, sharing it. So yeah, follow them because you never know which one of us are going to do stuff. Cody just released the Wakanda review on their YouTube channel. So watch that too. If you have seen Wakanda, if now you do like me, watch it after you watch Wakanda. And you can skip the spoiler section like I did because I got called out. But It
Yeah,
is what it is.
we did the review of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and we also did our full rankings of the entirety of Phase 4 of the MCU. So would appreciate some views and looks and comments on there as well. That's it. That's all I got. Check us out back here next Thursday. You can check out the replay every Monday if you miss us on the Thursday. For Astrid, I'm Cody. Have a good night.
Good night.